I feel confident in saying that there's a lot of hesitation about the solar industry. We've all heard some solar horror stories. So that being said, I think the key, or really what's going to make or break your experience with solar, is going to be the quality of your installation.
We really go above and beyond to drive the highest value to our clients as possible. It's always tier one materials. It's always a tier one install. But on top of that, we design each project with a non-cookie cutter flexibility. So we really design every project custom to each customer's specific requirements.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Welcome to another episode of Business Ninjas. I'm here today with Steve Kasselman, President and CEO, and Sky Arnold, Marketing Director at Kasselman Solar in New York. Lady and gentlemen, how are you doing today?
Good.
Hi,
Thank
Andrew.
you for having us.
It's a pleasure to have us. Thanks so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for spending some time with us here on Business Ninjas. I'll start with you, Steve. Tell me a little bit about yourself and about Kasselman Solar.
Well, I am a fourth generation electrical contractor. So it's a little bit in my blood. Up until 2014, I was really running the family business, which is a large union, a commercial industrial electrical contractor. And I recognized the inequity that was occurring both in the established trades between the union and non-union trades, and the increasing value of the solar industry at the time. So I made the decision to start a separate company called Kasselman Solar, where we could really focus on, the end user value. And as long as we were authentic and always driving the highest value to our customer, I was confident that although we faced 32 local competitors at the time, that we were going to succeed, and that's been really key and core to our success.
I got to unpack something you just mentioned kind of casually. You just said fourth generation electrical contractor. What year are you talking about your family starting in the electrical contracting business?
Well, I thought I was a third generation electrical contractor. My grandfather was a electrician in the Navy in World War II. He came back to found Kasselman Electric. But then I realized my mother hired a researcher, and my great-grandfather actually immigrated from Odessa to the United States. And he was a lamplighter in Odessa. And when he came to the United States in Florida, he became an electrician, machinist. So that was it was surprising to find out, but it gave context to why my grandfather became an electrician in the Navy. A lot more things started to make sense.
That is fascinating. And here you are taking the family genes into the 21st century with solar power. More power to you. Sorry for the pun. And what year did you start Kasselman Solar?
We started it in 2014.
Okay, and are you servicing exclusively, not locally, but regionally in New York?
Yes, we really had a New York State focus. We wanted to really brand ourselves as a trusted, local, authentic partner to our clients and to our manufacturers and suppliers and vendors. That's worked out tremendously well. We've always took a strong stance against residential leasing, and that's helped the entire industry shift toward less third-party ownership. So more and more customers are reaping the full benefits of their solar array with tier one solar equipment. So that's really exciting. And we were also, I believe, the #1 affordable solar installer in New York State for at least 2 years too. which means we were able to deploy tier one solar arrays and investments on disadvantaged households and communities throughout New York State at a larger level than any other companies.
Excellent, excellent. Skylar, I'll turn to you for a second. I'm going to guess you are not a fourth generation marketing person.
I'll guess what gave it away.
Tell me a little bit about your background and how you ended up at Kasselman Solar.
Yeah, of course. So I'm born and raised in the Albany area. So I'm really fortunate. I grew up here. I went to college here, and now I'm making my career here. So definitely like true grassroots, honestly, to the core. I'm a Siena grad like Steve. So I guess maybe that could be in the Kasselman blood, Siena grads. I got my undergrad in management, and I have my master's in business administration and marketing. And I'm fortunate to have this role at Kasselman where I can do both. So I oversee our marketing department. I've been fortunate enough to supervise 3 awesome interns that have just made it a dream. I can't even begin to talk about how fortunate I am to have this opportunity with this company. And also assisting our engineers in regards to setting appointments, preparing plans for potential clients, and also just assisting with the general process of how installing solar goes.
Excellent, excellent. Now, Steve, you are exclusively I'm not retail, but a consumer company, right? Are you dealing with any corporate clients or anything like that, or this is all homeowners?
That's actually something that does make us unique. We do government and corporate work as well, but especially during and after 2020, we really shifted to more of a residential model based on demand and where we saw utility costs escalating the highest. So we have a real moral mission to the company, which is energy equity, which is to say that you know, your electric bill should be. It's not right that someone in a McMansion and someone, you know, in HUD subsidized living would get the same electric bill, right? And
Sure.
so our real mandate is, you know, to provide energy equity and assist businesses and homeowners as well as government, you know, through the facility. And I will say NYSERDA, New York State Research Development Authority, has been the most incredible partner in our venture. And they are a remarkable asset to New York State and do incredible things. So without them, I can't say that our success would have been possible at this level.
Excellent. Now, I grew up in New York, but I haven't lived there in quite some time. So I'm not up to date in terms of tax incentives that the state is kicking in. I know that there's, you know, strong federal incentives to go solar. Tell me about how New York is helping you guys.
Skylar, did you want to talk about workforce development? Because that's really exciting in terms of how you're able to onboard new people very easily from college and provide, you know, career opportunities as well.
Yeah, I'd say definitely. And Steve, you can expand more on this, especially for someone like me who took this opportunity straight out of college. I think a lot of the industries that get a lot of attention are the sports, the music, the fashion, the entertainment. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. But I think we can all probably agree that the renewable energy industry isn't going anywhere. And Steve, you probably entered this industry because the amount of opportunity there is. And it's kind of beautiful when you think about it, right? There's so much we can do. There's so many places that we can go. It's not a question of, oh goodness, what are we going to do? It's more so an, oh goodness, like, how are we going to pick what we can do? That being said, going off what you said about NYSERDA, they have an outstanding internship program, which has allowed us to get those 3 marketing interns who have really provided a lot of value to the company, and also the new NYSERDA fellowship program that's coming out. Those are things that can give not only people that want to work and want to do those good things, they give the opportunity for people to go out and make their dreams happen and make their career goals happen and develop in really whatever way they want. And it's a really powerful thing to be able to say that in today's day and age when there's so much going on and people don't have to limit themselves based on their own constraints.
Piggyback off of what Skylar said real quick. You know, there's great workforce development programs that New York State's launched through NYSERDA. And she covered them pretty well. for the skilled trades, we have the OJT program, which is on-the-job training. So that allows us to hire somebody in the field without any previous solar or energy efficiency experience and have their wages subsidized by NYSERDA as they go about learning and training and, being, cast into this wide industry of really not just this energy shift in industries, but also the way that we view energy as we shift to electric vehicles, as well as Skylar knows, we have the technology now to make households sort of their own utility in a power outage, so they can undergo, they can have power for sustained periods of time in an outage. And that's without bi-directional EV charging. That's just with a home battery paired with solar. So there's generator integrations for this technology, and there's future bi-directional EV charging. So it's a very exciting time in our industry. I think the only thing that gives us some anxiety is the utility and all of the work that's going to have to be performed on the utility side to enable this success for our economy.
We're in an exciting and frightening time, I would say, in terms of the change in technology. And, we live in a funny country where I'm in California, you're in New York. We're both in states that are committed to renewable energy. So if you buy yourself an electric car, you can feel good about your footprint. If you live in the middle of the United States and you buy an electric car, you are powering your car with coal more likely than not, right? So there are there's a learning curve to be done, and the infrastructure has to be updated in this country. I'm glad to hear that New York State is so proactive, helping not just the consumers through tax incentives, but the providers like you and creating career paths for people. Tell me about how you guys differentiate yourselves in the market. How do you stand out from your competition in the solar field?
Well, there's obviously, and I can let Skylar speak to this, so I'm not so biased. But there's obviously the competency that we have that others don't, that allow us to do commercial, government, and residential work. Typically, companies will focus on one element of that work and not typically be able to provide the range of scope that we can for our clients. We also specialize in residential ground mounts, which is something that our clients don't, really appreciate, especially those with slate roofs and farms. So we actually utilize USDA grants. We really go above and beyond to drive the highest value to our clients as possible, regardless of what that client scenario looks like. So we even file variances on behalf of our clients to be able to have their projects come to fruition. So I would say, simply put, it's always tier one materials. It's always a tier one install. But on top of that, we design each project with a non-cookie cutter flexibility. So we really design every project custom to each customer's specific requirements. And of course, they're usually financial, but it comes to aesthetics and layout, and then planning for future needs too. So we go above and beyond, I'd say. Sometimes the pre-development, even for a residential project, could take us 8 months for a very complex project. And our competition just doesn't have the infrastructure to be able to adapt or handle that type of work. There's also the customer experience too, the peace of mind knowing we've been around, we're not going anywhere. We're not looking to grow into 7 states at once, and ultimately, everything that's happened in the solar industry since we've joined it, we've learned from. So we learn from our own mistakes, of course, but most critically, we we value authenticity and truth. So we try to learn from what we view as not sustainable in the industry and not good business practices as well. So I would say that's been the key to our success. I'm sure Skylar's got a very eloquent way of putting it.
Yeah, I think definitely like all of what you said. And just to tack on to that, I think in personal opinion, from being somebody that's worked in the solar industry for about a year, I feel confident in saying that there's a lot of hesitation about the solar industry. We've all heard some solar horror stories. So that being said, I think the key, or really what's going to make or break your experience with solar, is going to be the quality of your installation. Because if someone gets on your roof and they don't know what they're doing, you will literally feel that for years. It can damage and ruin your home in ways that you can't even imagine. And we're really fortunate to have the reputation that we have with Kasselman, where we were recently recognized for our quality and for our attention to detailed installation. Steve mentioned NYSERDA, and every year they do something called Quality Solar Installer, which is probably pretty assumptive. They release a list of the most top recognized solar installers in the state. There's about 600 solar installers in New York State, according to ecowatch.com. And we've been fortunate enough to be on that list 3 years in a row. So we've gotten quality solar installer with gold status 3 years running now. So that not only shows an attention to detail and a certain level of competency, it shows that it's not a one-off. It shows that Kasselman Solar has this commitment and has this competency that very few others have, because we've gotten it 3 years in a row. So as the marketing person, this is something that I love because it makes my job a lot easier. We have a hard piece of evidence to show that we have a track record of success, and we have a track record of knowing what we're doing, and we have a track record of being a leader in the industry.
Excellent. I love it. Now, in terms of the progression of the technology, what is changing the most at this point? Is it the cells themselves? Is it the technology that's capturing the energy from the cells? What is changing so rapidly at the moment?
I would say the big story is batteries, home batteries. And that, in the context of replacing standby generators or supplementing standby generators. So as I mentioned earlier, we have the technology now and we're actively installing it. If you went with a whole home generator, you would have an automatic transfer switch. So when the power goes out, it just shifts over to the generator kicks on until you run out of fuel or there's an issue with the generator. Now the systems that we're installing, they're smart backup interfaces. So they have inputs for a generator as well as a battery, as well as your solar array and a future input for a bi-directional EV charger. So the technology that we're deploying is future ready. But at the same time, we want to be hesitant as we go, because that is always the best route that I would advocate any new technology deployers to take is caution. So the batteries haven't come to fruition as quickly. It's been a few years delayed. So I would say really there's no substitute for standing behind your products, having the great products, and looking to the future and thinking, how valuable is this really going to be in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and is this right for our company and our brand and our clients? So to complement Skylar's comments about our NYSERDA Gold achievement, I would say it's been a little more difficult for us because of our expanded scope of work that we take on compared to most other companies, where they have more refined business models where they might only offer one type of inverter or one type of solution. So being able to do that on both a residential and commercial side is very impressive, and I'm very proud of my team.
Excellent. Excellent. Tell me about the last couple of years in COVID. I would imagine as utility bills and the cost of fuel and things have skyrocketed, that people would be looking further and further more closely at solar as an option, especially as they're spending more time at home and working remotely. Tell me how you've managed to grow the business through the COVID years.
Well, as you may or may not know, New York State was the only state to shut down residential solar in COVID. So I sort of shifted back to Kasselman Electric role because we were essential to operations there, New York State operations at the time. So what really surprised me was the increasing demand for solar. So when we actually had customers wanting to do their own site assessments at their own houses, and getting a lot of fulfillment from that. And that was such a surprise to me that we put together like a no contact, no touch solar model. And it was weird for a while. We were doing thermal screening every day for our employees, isolating and sending them out with masks and trying to avoid indoor at all times. But that passed, and I think customers became more calm about it before we did. So that was a relief. And then now it's just been a nature of education. So much has happened in the stock market, in the global news, especially with fuel prices, oil prices, that a lot of consumers haven't been aware at just how quickly their utility rates escalated until we got to the winter. So Sky's done an incredible job putting out great pieces with her team, educating consumers about, the increasing costs of their electricity bill, how we don't see that trend stopping, slowing down,
Mhm.
and the real effect that has on households, and how to combat that with solar arrays the best way. And then some of our other articles, the dark side of solar loans, really shed light to the best way to go solar and have the best return on investment.
Well, that's a perfect segue to my next question, which relates to content, right? You got to educate people. You have to engage and educate your potential clients. Tell me about the role of content in the growth of your business, Skylar.
I think content, I mean, you can put a time limit on me because I could go for days about this on end. But I think especially now, since even before COVID, but since COVID, especially, we've seen how digital the digital world has become, and we know that it's here to stay. So as you know, I oversee our marketing. Content is everything, always on my mind. And I think a trap that a lot of companies fall into, not just in solar, but just in any industry, is always putting out content because they feel like they have to. I feel like there's definitely become a societal pressure, if you will, to always be posting something, always be on top of everything. And that's just impossible, especially depending on the size of the team. We want to make sure that our expectations are realistic. So myself and Ava, our intern, who has helped us design some amazing things, because I can make things look good, but I can't make things look amazing. So she's really helped me in that regard. Our big thing with our content is doing things with intention. We don't want to post anything, whether it's social media, an email to sales prospects, or even just an article on our website. We don't want to do anything because we feel like we have to. We're in agreement that we'd rather post nothing than post a piece of filler. So our little checklist, if you will, for our content, is it educational, informative, entertaining, compelling, or engaging? Ideally, it's any mix of those 5 things. But if it's not any of those 5 things, we don't want to post it, because we don't want to fall into the trap of being like everybody else, because there's no fun in being like everybody else. We're not different if we're like everybody else. So that's become our really big marketing push. And I think it's really helped the company in the sense of a brand awareness and just general understanding standpoint, is we know that what we're doing has value because we're doing it with intention.
Yeah, if I could just piggyback and compliment Skylar and team's work, I'd say the relevancy and the authenticity of the content that they generate is so powerful because a lot of other solar companies are not owned by a single owner. You know, they have interests with financial lenders that prevent them from potentially saying things. So I couldn't be more proud of the work that you put out and the freedom that you have to do so. And I would say, like, what really makes your work special is the relevancy and authenticity, you know, because that's something that I just don't really see out there. You know, solar companies talking about, you know, leasing versus buying, the dark side of solar loans. You know, it's that level of authenticity is very powerful. So your work is amazing.
And I appreciate that. Thank you. And again, we could go back and forth all day on this, but just to
Yeah.
go on top of that, that's also Steve, you just said it perfectly and brought a new perspective to it. That's really the overarching theme, is we want it to be relevant and we want it to be authentic, especially when we consider the industry that we're in. It's not like our customers buy one thing from us and we tell them to have a good day and we never talk to them again. They're investing tens of thousands of dollars, depending on the size of the project, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars with us. We need to make sure that they know they can trust us, that we have this relationship, because it's almost like a marriage in a sense, and it can't just be a one-off thing. So the relevancy and the authenticity, especially in the digital age when there's so much, I don't want to maybe say fakeness, but there's so much out there. Some of it's real, some of it's not real, some of it is more real than others, might be the way to put it. That's a way that we can help ourselves stand out.
No, you are speaking my language. People have to know why they should be doing business with you. There are just too many options in a digital landscape, and you have to express your expertise, your authority, and you have to be trustworthy. And in your space where it is a long-term commitment, right? You're not buying an appliance, you're buying a system that's going to be with you in your home for quite some time. You know, when you go to sell your home, that's going to be part of your home moving forward, and I assume add value to it down the road. So absolutely.
And that's one of the great things about our systems. I hate to interrupt you, but adding value, one of the things that we feel most fulfilled with is that because of the systems that we install, and we've installed since 2014, the nature of them, the NREL studies show that they increase home value as much as 20% from the first year, and increase the sale time when listed from an equitable home by 18%. So New York State has a 15-year property tax increase exemption for solar. So what we've been able to do is increase all of our customers' equity values and home, you know, in their home without increasing necessarily their tax liability. And that's been, you know, very fruitful and rewarding, especially during this current economic time where we see the housing downturn.
Oh, it makes it even more of a no-brainer. You know, you're nearly at the point where why wouldn't you, right? If it lowers your costs, it pulls you off the grid, it protects you in terms of systemic power failures, your ability to get through that, and it doesn't raise your tax burden, and it raises the value of your home and shortens the time cycle to sell it. You're checking an awful lot of boxes there.
Right.
All right. Fast forward a year from today. What's something you'd like to be celebrating personally and professionally?
A year from today, things are moving so quickly right now. I think what's held us back in the past has been the supply chain, the global supply chain. So now that we're restructuring, you know, the supply chains, it's very exciting to see what's made in the US. And we've always, when we started in 2014, we were installing US made solar panels. So it's very exciting to be able to see this new advent of technology. And a year from now, I hope that we are, the EV industry is at a level where we're integrating bi-directional electric charging capability into our customers' homes. That will make a major difference to the utility and to utility costs. And I imagine that we're going to be taking on more HVAC and energy efficiency work as well, just as a nature of how our industry is expanding. But that's, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, before you answer, Skylar, I'm gonna add something that will lead into to help you in your endeavor to have that. Very recently, our governor was unveiling plans for major mining. It turns out one of the world's largest deposits of lithium is out here by the Salton Sea in California, and we have huge commitments to start yielding that quickly. So that will help you with your endeavor to have American-made products on your shelves, that's for sure. And Skylar, what would you like to be celebrating a year from now?
Honestly, it's funny you ask me that now because I just had my 1 year anniversary with Kasselman literally last week. So I was tallying up all the numbers.
Congrats.
Oh, thank you, about what the marketing department was able to accomplish. And we increased users and sessions on the website by 49 and 53% respectively. We were just shy of 100,000 impressions on social media, which was really frustrating because I would have loved to hit 100,000, but we have another year to get it done. So from a department perspective, I just want to see us grow a little bit more, because I say it to our engineers and I say it really to anybody. My job as the marketing department, or really our job, including the intern as the marketing department, is to help you do your job. So I see our growth and our celebrations as company celebrations too, because I almost view us as the bridge from A to B. So hopefully on the broad scale, just celebrating company growth, celebrating the wins in the office when somebody signs that big project, or when a project that took forever can finally get installed because of whatever town or utility they were in. Whatever the win is, whatever we can do to help our company grow is really what we want to do, and just celebrating even the little things and finding the joy in the everyday.
Hey, all of your wins collectively help the planet move forward, right? And help the environment. So I wish you both all the best in your endeavors. Please tell our listeners where you can be found, what your company's URL is, and what social media channels you're using these days.
Find us quickly online, CasselmanSolar.com, Instagram, Kasselman Solar, Twitter, Kasselman Solar, LinkedIn, Kasselman Solar, Facebook, all of it, Kasselman Solar. So we're hopefully pretty easy to find. It's all the same thing.
Excellent.
Kasselman with 2 S's, in case you were
Yeah,
wondering.
the spelling's fun.
Yeah, ladies and
Everyone
gentlemen, that's
thanks me.
Kasselman.
Oh,
And
yes.
that's correct. Well, thanks so much, Andrew. Really appreciate it.
Steve
Yes,
Kasselman and Skylar Arnold of Kasselman Solar, thank you so much for spending time with us today, and thank you for what you do out there. It is helping move the planet forward and helping people afford their lives, and adding equity to their portfolios. So I appreciate everything you do. All the best.
Andrew, I'd just like to take a moment to thank you for everything that you do, running this podcast and educating consumers and having real consumer advocates like us on. It's really remarkable. So thank you for having this and hosting this amazing podcast. You're doing a great thing.
Well, thank you. My distinct pleasure.